Welcome back, and we have another creative challenge for today. And I was going through and looking through some of my things, and I realized an old sculpture that I did, an old sketch of a koi fish. So I kind of wanted to bring that up and play around with that today and see what we can kind of bring to life through this. So we're staying in the idea of keeping it super simple. I'm going to do one long coil shape. When I add in the fins, they'll probably be little triangles or squares, kind of slightly altered. The head I'll add on to the end of the coil, and it'll be like probably a ball, maybe a little with a few extra shapes on it. The tail, when I add that on, we're going to be looking at probably a couple of triangle shapes, or a fin. We're going to have a special fin shape maybe. And then we're also going to get into doing some scales, just simple way to do some scales with creating your own tool for that. So with that, we're going to get started. So like I said, I'm going to follow the same idea that I had before and curl this in and around. Kind of start with this coil. Grab up a little bit more clay and kind of extend that down. Starting here with, again, water-based clay is what I like to use. It's a personal preference. If you're having fun at home, you can use Play-Doh, you can use Super Sculpting, any kind of modeling clay or oil-based clay. Whatever you get, whatever you have, and whatever you prefer. So, here we are, and I'm actually going to take off a little bit just so I can create the head there. Like I said, I'm going to start with just a ball of clay that's going to kind of work its way into the head. And, I mean, honestly, it could have just been part of the coil, I guess, because I distorted it so much. But here's the basic shape of the fish. I'm going to add a little bit more clay down here so that it kind of stays as thick as I want it. I don't want it to go too thin. Now for the head, because of the angle that I'm creating, the center line is going to be a little bit lifted off, but the center line is basically right here. So with that, I can add a little bit of clay here that'll be the brow on the other side, and then the eye on this side be about right there. And I'm going to build up a brow. Now this is going to be more, I guess, stylized than realistic, kind of towards like a Japanese tattoo of a koi fish, or like the Japanese art of a koi fish, rather than a real life fish. And I'm going to kind of add a little bit of my own character to it as well. So here I just added a little ball or a little cylinder of clay to build out the snout area a little bit. And it's kind of flat at the top, and then kind of, actually you need to add more clay because it gets wider towards the bottom. Here just another worm of clay to build out the cheeks and a little bit underneath for the jaw. And I'm going to kind of connect that to the front piece here. So there we have that. Now, one of the other things I really like to do is to get an idea early on for my pieces. So I I will do quick shapes for, like, if I were to add ears or things like that to characters, I do super quick shapes that don't take me too long, and just add them on just to kind of get a feel for the character. So koi fish have these, I'm not even sure what they're called, but these almost like a mustache looking pieces that come off. So I'm just adding those in just to give myself a feeling for the overall piece and what it looks like so far. Now with the spine, I'm going to draw out where that actually is. And that's going to go right here. But the reason I want to draw it is because I'm going to add like the middle fin, but I'm going to kind of have the fish twisting a little bit, just like I did before in that picture, and have it kind of wrap around like this. So then, for here, down here towards the bottom, I'm going to make it thin, a little bit thinner. And one way to roll out your clay is to roll it on a flat piece, and you'll be able to get it a lot thinner than if you did it between your hands. So that's what I'm doing here. And I'm just going to place it right on top of that line that I just drew. But I'm only going to go to about right here, because I'm going to kind of pinch it together. But as it gets higher, I want to make it a little bit thicker. So it's going to kind of weave into a thicker piece, and even thicker at the top here. So I'm just kind of pinching that together to kind of get it started. Okay. For the fins are kind of going to be flattened, almost triangle shapes. And I'm going to put one up there and put one underneath as well. And for the bottom, for the fin down here, we're going to do triangles. I think we're going to do triangles. Well, actually, yes. So I'm going to kind of I'm actually just going to cut the shape out. So I'm just kind of doing flat shapes here that kind of go towards it. And then I'm just going to take a tool and kind of cut it to where it's going to go like that. This one's going to kind of go up here. Now, so there we go. That is a starting shape to build off of. And I'm actually going to add a little bit more clay to the top of this. Just because I'm feeling that this is kind of lifted up a little bit. So just trying to add in a little bit of variation. And I'm actually going to move everything, kind of press this up a little bit, and pick this up and kind of chop off a little bit and kind of move that up with it. Okay, add a little bit more here. Okay, now back to the head, because this is still looking a little weird. I'm going to go in with this and just try to shape it a little bit more. I think the top of the head's way too wide, so I'm going to trim some of this off, as well as at the bottom here. Okay. Now this, kind of separate this brow area. And this. And then draw in where the mouth would be. And I'm actually also, I think, going to add in a ball of clay and kind of shape the eye, or at least start to shape the eye. And that'll help me to also kind of continue on with this. Because fish do actually have big eyes. That's kind of going to help to kind of define where I'm going with this. But as you can see, I've already got a good starting base. And so what I'm going to do now is speed up a little bit and just kind of tighten up the face to make it a little bit more of where I'm trying to go with it, as well as the fins. And then we'll see where I can go and where I take this. Alright, so I'm back, and what you guys saw me do was I definitely took off a lot of the head and went back to the basic shape and kind of dug in and played with it. I also added in a couple of the lower fins and played around with this ridge here. But as you can see, we got something that's actually starting to look like something. Now, I wanted to also jump in and show a couple other things. For going in and doing something like this, and you wanted to, let's say you wanted to add scales, you can actually take and create your own tools. So what I did was I took a popsicle stick and drew in basically half of a scale on this side, half of a scale on this side. And what that will allow you to do is, holding this, we're going to kind of press the tip of it into the clay a little bit, rock it this side, rock it to this side, right? And that makes a little indent. We're going to line this up right where this was, press in, rock it to this side, rock it to this side. And what you're seeing here is now, let's do one more, you got an indent for a row of fins. Now what we can do is put the point right at that center mark that's here, and do the same thing. Rock it both sides. Press it in, rock it to this side, press it in, do that. and then kind of just keep going down. You can do this with feathers, with scales, all depending on whatever it is that you're working on. And of course, you can always make different sizes, different shapes, depending on what your needs are. But the other thing is that, you know, you're able to create something like this really quick. And that'll help when you do something like a fish or like a reptile or even a bird. And so just remember as you're doing this, though, to make sure that you follow the shape of the body. So I'm not going to kind of keep doing this. I'm going to do it like this so that the scales actually go around. You're going to have certain spots to where you have to sculpt your own and they're going to overlap and fold. But this will help you to get a lot of the main ones in and started. So I'm just going to plug away at a few of these. And to be honest, I'm going to have to kind of adjust and play around with it because this is a little bit bigger than I probably should be using on this. But we'll see how it turns out. There we go. But even with all that, you're able to see that I was able to get one kind of thing started going on there. The other thing I wanted to do and kind of show you guys is to get, depending on how you wanted to make this piece, you can either leave it just like this, or what if we started adding in a little bit more of a plaque type of shape. So in this case, since it's a fish, I was thinking let's do some water, some waves around the edges. So basically just going around everything and adding in a little bit of clay and trying to figure out the best way to kind of create those without messing up anything. So I still want everything to kind of be in there. And I might have to lift up these fins and kind of play with them in order to make this work. But yeah, I'm gonna pull these off for now and re-add those later. They'll go a little bit above the water. And so what I'm actually going to do is create its own special shape. I'm not worried about the one underneath there. I'm just going to kind of go over that fin. But I'm thinking about containing the water to almost this oval shape. And that way the head sticks out a little bit and the tail kind of sticks out of it a little bit. It's kind of sticking out of the frame. Then go in with some flat tools, and I'm going to smooth it out, but also kind of work in some waves, or at least what looks like some waves, some ripples, so that it's not super flat. But it's together. Now definitely, if you need it, look at some reference for all of these things. For the working from a picture of a fish is a lot easier. And I've had a few reference pictures that I've been looking at. Same thing for the water. You can look at real water. You can also look at stylized like paintings, especially like the old school Japanese paintings and brush paintings and things like that. And what I'm actually going to do here is get some more clay out and have a few of these waves actually kind of coming out, or coming kind of like almost like a splash. So we're going to do this almost like, I'm going to kind of reference what I did with a couple of the my little heroes piece portraits that I did as mermaids, and I had kind of water splashing out from those. And one of the things that the style of them have is they'll have the waves kind of up and kind of curling back. So I'm going to see what I can do with incorporating a few of those and seeing how it looks. Doing that, but also cutting in on the inside. Not sure how it'll work, but maybe even doing a few that kind of splash over the piece. Again, this is your piece, so have fun and see what will come of it and what you can make out of it. And just make sure that you enjoy the entire process. Get creative and let your imagination just take off and go. It's kind of a whirlwind of a lot of different things going on here. Not too crazy about the way that that's looking for me. So I'm just pulling that out on this. This one also kind of looked a little weird to me, so pulling that out. Okay. So something like that. You're going with this tool and just kind of sculpt in a few more like ripples along the waves, just to kind of give it just a little bit more, so that it's not just a smooth wake. All right. Totally messed up my two bottom fins that I had there and kind of smushed them together with the ball, but I will add them back in. I can make new ones and add them back in. There we go. With these, they'll be the fins will be thin, but kind of they have a certain texture to them that you can add in just by scraping in. And now, there you go. Now, of course, you can go in and finish detail, add as much as you want or as little as you want, depending on if you're trying to make this a little more rough and fine art, rough style, or if you're trying to make this super realistic, a little more detailed, you want to make it a little more cartoony and fun. Again, this is your project. But here's what we were able to come up with today. So, using very simplified shapes, we were able to create this piece. And again, this is just a starting point, this is a base, but I wanted to make sure that we created something that was simplistic enough to where you don't have the excuse of, I could never make that. However, you can always take this and go as far as you would like with it. Whether it's a piece you're going to try to finish and hang on your wall, whether it's a piece you're just going to have fun and sketch with, whether it's a little activity for you and your family. This is the building blocks to get you guys started and to eliminate that excuse of, I don't know how to sculpt, or I can't sculpt, or I tried it and I couldn't do it. It's all about having fun. So, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. I would love to see what you guys are creating. Keep following me. That way you can see all the new videos that are coming up. Join me on Patreon so that you can see some of the videos a little bit sooner. And that really just helps support the Little Heroes project as well as these weekly videos. And I will catch you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching.